Well, hello, everyone. I'm Jill Bloom, publisher of Roofing Contractor, Walls and Ceilings, and Building Enclosure. Happy New Year, and welcome everyone who's watching to our Legal Insight with Trent Cotney, the CEO of Cotney Construction Law. I'm also joined today with Art Eisner and Rick D'Amato, both from Roofing Contractor. Well, Trent, again, welcome, and thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you guys. It's good to see everybody again.
So again, Happy New Year, Trent. It's been a while since we've talked, but can you tell me what have contractors been calling you about this week?
Tell you, it's been a crazy 2021, right? I mean, we've had a lot of concern calls from roofing contractors related to a lot of different things. Everything from vaccines and what that looks like. Can they mandate it for their employees? We've had a lot of issues where contractors are being told by their customers that as soon as it becomes available, that they're not going to let any workers on the job unless they can show proof of vaccination. It's been a big issue, and so we've tried to navigate what those issues are, kind of go through that. A lot of questions about some of the stimulus stuff that's come out. We've got a lot to talk about. It's been a busy few weeks in 2021.
Yeah, there's no doubt. But I do want to ask you a question about contracts, because I don't think anybody back in March, nearly 11 months ago, thought that this was going to last as long as it was. And I'm concerned that there's contractors out there that still haven't really done anything or made the changes that they probably should have made very quickly early on to their contracts. What would you tell those contractors today? What's the biggest, most important thing that they need to change and add into their contracts?
Well, Joe, that's a great question. And, I always say your contractor manual is about being proactive rather than reactive. So you want to have stuff in there that anticipates the world that we live in now. Okay. So regardless of whether it's your contract or you're reviewing a contract that's given to you, you want to check the acts of God provision. It's commonly referred to as the force majeure provision, to make sure that it contemplates work shutdowns because of pandemics or infectious diseases, local, state, federal emergencies. The typical acts of God provision doesn't call that out in there, so that needs to be added in there. The other thing that you really want to watch out for is delays and suspension of work. Okay, we've had a marked increase of delay claims, almost 30% year over year, because of the pandemic. So very important to take that into account. And I mentioned it at the beginning. Keep in mind that if you have an existing contract and they tell you that you have to bring your workers on, they have to be vaccinated, they can't enforce that if you already have an existing contract. But if you are currently bidding a contract or you are submitting a proposal or something, and that's one of the requirements, you're going to have to comply with it. Okay, so they can contractually mandate that you have people that are vaccinated. You want to take that into account in your bid. Okay, you want to make sure that you can have enough production to cover that that's going to be vaccinated. And the last thing I would mention is you really need to have a material availability and acceleration provision in there. We've had a lot of material shortages. We've had a lot of material price increases. Look at lumber. Okay, I read recently average cost to do a residential home is up 16% because of lumber. And if you don't account for that in your contract, then you could potentially be in bad shape. So we add what's commonly referred to as a price acceleration provision, which says that in the event any material line item goes up by more than 5%, that the contract is equitably adjusted to account for that. You've got to provide the backup for it, but it's fair for you and it's fair for the customer.
Got it. All right.
Trent, I did want to follow up quickly just on the vaccinations. I know it's a tricky area because there's still so much that's unknown. But given that the rollout is being done on a state-by-state basis, how concerned are you that you'll be able to? I'm sure you're fielding calls from all over the country. You're going to have to deal with different circumstances in almost every single state as far as this is concerned. I mean, how messy is that going to be?
It is a mess, and there hasn't been a real cohesive way to get everything rolled out now. I think as we get more vaccines on the market, as more volume is, by this time, probably, I'd say in a couple of maybe April or May, we maybe start seeing some easing of it, but it's going to be a while. And the biggest issue now that a lot of contractors are having to face is, what do they do as an employer? Do they require that their workers or their employees get vaccinated? That's a very tricky issue, Art. I mean, there's a lot of things. There's everything from, potential religious objections under Title VII. There's potential medical issues under the ADA. A lot of different things that need to be navigated there in order to figure out whether or not you should or should not do that. But one thing is for certain, is we will remain busy for the foreseeable future.
Right, just on that alone. And certainly, again, it being put out there on a state by state basis, I'm sure a lot of contractors with multiple locations or in multiple states, they're going to have some hurdles to overcome.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is just that's a great segue. One of the things that I would do is, regardless of what your policy is, so you can have a voluntary vaccination policy, maybe with an incentive plan attached to it. If you do end up saying you want a mandatory vaccine policy, you got to go back to your employee manual and you got to adjust this, and you need to get sign off on it. Okay. Don't just roll out with something and say, this is what it is. Everybody's got to be on the same page. You want to make sure that you got that paper there that you can point to say, this is what we're doing. Avoid disparate treatment. Okay. You can't say only old people get the vaccine, only this segment gets the vaccine. Everybody gets the vaccine. Okay. And if you can't do that, you need to have a rational basis why you can't do that. So for example, you could say only crews that are working on nursing homes have to be vaccinated. That makes sense, right? But a lot of issues there. As you can see, once you start getting into the weeds, there are some legal issues there.
All right. Well, I wanted to be sure to ask you about your piece in roofingcontractor.com this week about the Consolidated Appropriations Act. You did a great job of breaking that down. So that was something Congress took care of right before the end of the year. Can you tell us what can contractors get out of that piece?
Sure. So this was great news for contractors. It's commonly referred to as the Corona Bus bill, but basically it was just another stimulus act that came out. It's roughly $900 billion in stimulus money, but it was combined with the spending bill for the government that would normally come out. So there are some great things in there that contractors should be aware of. The first is the Paycheck Protection Program. What they did is they provided additional funding, and they said that you can go for a second dip. Okay. You can go for another dip, but you've got to be able to show a 25% loss year over year. Okay. And when I get asked this, I've had a lot of roofing contractors call me and say, Trent, what should I do? And I say, be very careful. Be very, very careful. You don't want to be a press release. So be very, very careful about looking for that second dip. The other thing is they extended money out for first timers, and they've eased some of the restrictions. So that's a great thing. Obviously, there was some extended unemployment that was in there. They said that you can continue to take tax credits up through the end of March for the Family First Coronavirus Response Act, for paid time off, those types of things. A lot of really great things as far as renewable energy. They extended a lot of the energy tax credits, some of which went through 2021, some of which went beyond that. So all of that is great news for contractors. It was a blessing in disguise that came, right at the end of the year. One of the things that a lot of people overlook, but I think is worth sort of highlighting, one thing I thought was great. They took the meals and the meals expense. Okay. So normally if you run a business and you take somebody out for lunch or dinner. So let's say, Art, you're down here in Tampa, and I say, come on, buddy, let's go get some barbecue. Okay. I put that on my taxes, right? I only get 50% of that. Okay. What this Corona Bus did is they said, now I get 100%. Which is great because one, that's going to encourage people dining out, and two, it's great for people like me that I've got to, go out and wine and dine occasionally. So good news there. That was overlooked, but that's going to be a big benefit, especially for businesses and, people that are having to take people out. So.
All right, nice. Not something that really stood out in any of the headlines headlines there. I do want to follow up. Is there any reason why contractors should not be considering the double dip, as you put it, given what you learned from the first round?
So there has been no guidance from the SBA or the Department of Treasury that says don't do this. Okay, that's the one thing I want to make clear. But okay, you can expect that there's going to be heightened scrutiny. So you are really going to have to be able to show that 25% difference of gross receipts in any quarter from 2020 to 2019. You're going to have to be able to show that. So you really need to be hurting before you decide to go for it. And I think you are asking for additional scrutiny, in my opinion. Okay. There's nothing that actually says that yet, but I can only imagine that if you're going for it twice, they're going to require some backup there. So my advice would be very, very conservative and very cautious when it comes to doing that.
Right. It sounds like contractors weren't the only ones that learned things during that first round. Government regulators certainly did too,
Right.
and are going to be ready. Rick, what's on your mind?
Well, all right, Trent, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
And to all of our listeners and viewers, thank you very much for being here with us. I just kind of want to go back to the real world for just a few minutes. The coronavirus, the elections, and all the uproar, and the political world is gonna almost always be there. Maybe not this intense, but we still have to run our roofing businesses. And one of the things I've been focused on for the last several years has been workforce development, and it's still a big problem. I mean, I hear all the other noise, but workforce development is still a huge problem in the industry. And it's winter. It may not be winter where you are, Trent, but for a lot of the country, roofing contractors take this time to train people to sort of dust off their equipment, clean things up, and learn a thing or two themselves. And I just wonder, you talk to a lot of contractors. What are you hearing about what they're doing? And also, further to that, your place as the general counsel for the National Roofing Contractors Association. They've got certification and training programs as well. And you may even want to talk about what your firm is doing in that regard. So just let me hear your thoughts on workforce development.
Sure. There is a silver lining within COVID-19, and that is everyone has recognized that there's efficiencies with communicating this way. So before, where you'd have to, dedicate 3 days out of your schedule, go fly somewhere, sit in a room all day, pay for a hotel, pay for this, that, and the other. You don't have to do that anymore. You can just turn it on during lunch. You can get trained. You can watch stuff. And we've seen a lot of this workforce type training pivoting to an online form. Now, Rick, you know as well as I do that there's stuff with roofing where it's got to be hands-on. You can't learn how to flash by watching a video. You got to be able to feel it. You got to have that fingertip feel, right? So there are certain things that have to be done that way. But what we've seen is a lot of the associations, a lot of the training groups out there pivoting to kind of meet this new reality. NRCA has done a great job at that. They offer both pro certification, which is the opportunity to get certified in fields. Right now, they've got EPDM, they've got shingle and TPO. They've also got foreman training. Their track program is great. You can do most of that online. And they've really worked to do a lot of this through webinars and online training, which is great. I do anticipate that workforce training is going to be a top priority with the Biden administration. It's one of the things that we're really cluing in on, working nationally. What I would like to see is an easier entry level, an ability to get in on the ground and just get some basics so that you can start to get people interested in the program. I think a lot of that is through high school and vocational training. Here, through our consulting group, we're working, hand in hand with the associations to make sure that we're offering workforce training, safety training, estimating, operations, all that kind of stuff. And I agree with you, even though it's only 60 degrees here, in most places you can't really get on a roof. There's no better time to get trained up. I know when I have free time now, if I'm at my desk eating lunch, I'm turning on a webinar, I'm turning on something. It's so easy to do. So I think that's something that's here to stay now, Rick. I think we're going to see this expansion and this embracing of this new technology to kind of help train people better.
Well, for our future conversations such as this, I'd like to hear more from your consulting group point of view as to how the Perkins Act is going to go through again as it renews, and what the Biden administration does to get the support that these career technical education schools need. And also that we're NRCA and several other entities are working fast and furious to get roofing into these trade schools as a course. Not just the four-year universities, which in our city is doing a very good job with, but just the career and technical education, the construction schools. So just by way of a teaser, there's going to be more of that conversation too. Well, what else is on your mind this week, Trent?
I'm just excited. I really am. It is 2020 was an interesting year. I'll just say that. It was, there were a lot of good things that came out of it, but it was just a tough year, And with 2021, I just see a lot of opportunity and a lot of stuff on the horizon, which excites me. I mean, right now we've got a lot of political upheaval, turmoil, that kind of stuff. I think once the lay of the land kind of settles a little bit, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for contractors to really excel. I think that embracing, talking about technology, being able to embrace that, being able to recognize kind of where things are going, is going to be key in kind of separating yourself from competition. And I think a lot of what this has done, Rick, is it's kind of forced all of us to kind of take a look at the way life was in 2019 and what the future looks like. And really 2020 was sort of a bridge to where that future is going. And now, we're kind of there. So I'm really excited about the new technology, not only stuff like Zoom and things like that, but where it's going to lead roofing. We've been working very closely with our attorney in South Africa and some consultants that we've got there. And we're working on some really cool things with renewable and sustainable energy and combining roof systems into that. I am convinced that if you look at roofs, they are a great way to not only help the environment, but it's just a whole bunch of unused space. If we can figure out how to use that space effectively, it's going to make a huge difference in our industry. And I think we need to move away from roofing as a commodity to roofing as a multi-purpose type system. So I'm focusing my 2021, at least from the roofing sector, to see how we go about doing that. That's really what inspires me. And that's why I'm so excited. I really am. I think 2021 is going to be a breakthrough year for our industry.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I had the opportunity to watch a couple of things on the Consumer Electronics Show, which is virtual this year. And some very large companies are making big investments in the future of their business as something totally different than what they are. And an example is Bridgestone. Mm-hmm. They're a tire company. They do rubber. They're going to be about mobility solutions. We reported recently where they sold or are in the process of selling their building products. Firestone is sold to Lafarge Holcim, and I believe that to be part of their overall corporate change of the way they're looking at things. And I couldn't agree with you more. The roof is part of a building solution, and we got to. What a great time to pivot from always being the problem to being actually viewed as a solution.
Exactly. That's it right there. That is it.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that the industry can keep going that way. If we can get enough help, it might.
Right. You never know.
Jill, back to you.
Well, that's some really exciting insight, Trent. But before we close, though, I did notice that I saw a posting on your LinkedIn page that you are now the general counsel for CRCA. So congratulations.
Thank you. Chicago's my home away from home, and I've got great friendships with everybody up there. Bill, Linda McHugh, just great people. I've had an opportunity to work with them for quite a while now, and really looking forward to doing some great work in Chicago. Tremendous amount of roofing there, storied association. So feel very fortunate to be able to work with them.
Well, again, congratulations and thank you for all you do for this amazing industry, because the list keeps growing, and I shouldn't be surprised every time I see something else. But again, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to everyone else everybody who's watching today. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to Trent at cotneycl.com.
That's it.
And if you need to reach any of us, it's roofingcontractor.com or wconline.com. And everyone, please stay safe and healthy, and we look forward to seeing you next time.